Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I do my Q&A, which is where I basically answer your questions, and I try to give really great answers. This video, I recommend if you can watch it all. Like most people only make it in about 30 minutes. Well, this video, I might be longer than 30 minutes, and there's going to be great stuff all the way through it. So I recommend watching the whole video if you can. I did ask the audience, like you guys, in a forum, in a poll, whether you guys minded the longer videos or wanted shorter videos, or if we wanted me to break out segments. And majority of people said that they want me to break out certain segments. I might do that. I'm still debating about it because it's editing when I don't really like to do editing. But it is something that I'm considering. So this is going to be a longer video because I have some really great stuff to show and a lot of really great topics to go over. If you have a question for me, please leave it in the comments below and I will answer it next week. So you can get a shout out to your channel. You can get some bit of comic collector geek love, and you can, it's something fun. It's get your question answered. And some of these questions really are pretty great. So I'm going to start with Kevin MJ70. And he asked, who are some of your favorite villains from the various ages and universes? Is there a particular one or two you would show the progression and evolution across titles and ages? Okay. So my favorite villain of all time is the Joker. Just bar none. I like Dr. Doom a lot, but Joker is my ultimate favorite villain. And I will show you his progression. So I'm going to do it through slabs and through, I don't have that many slabs with Joker, but I do have a bunch that are kind of good in terms of showing how he's changed over the years. The first one is Batman 49. And if you look at this is like a classic Joker cover. It's actually the first appearance of Vicky Vale and the Mad Hatter, too. It's kind of a great, great book altogether. But it's a classic Joker cover. And if you look at the Joker here, he's kind of sinister. He's kind of super evil looking. And that is really kind of the way the Golden Age Joker was. He was super sinister. He was like a criminal. He was like pretty diabolical. And the Joker was kind of interesting in the Golden Age. Now, I don't have any representations of the Joker in the Silver Age, but it became a bit more cartoonish in the Silver Age. I do have some Batman Silver Age Jokers, but they're not slabbed, and I have to get them out. But they are very cartoonish, and it's not the Joker that we think of nowadays. But to see how he was a bit cartoonish, he kind of remained that way even in the 70s. So this is, he came a little bit more legit in the 70s, actually. So this is Joker #1, and this is his first series. It was a short-lived series, but it was kind of a cool series. So Joker #1, and this is how he looked in the 70s. And this is I really like this one. It's a really great story. I actually read it. This is Detective Comics 475. And this is the Joker in the later 70s. And he's got his signature like laughing fish like that he uses as weapons. They're sort of laughing piranha kind of like fish with these crazy smiles. And so he's got a bit of that cartoonish, but also a bit of the kind of diabolical element to the Joker here. So really interesting story. Basically, he tries to get a patent for the fish, which is really funny. And he kills anyone that doesn't allow him to get that patent. And then we got later on, We got kind of the Joker, maybe the more modern take on Joker. We got Batman and Harley Quinn. This is a really great cover. And it's sort of that more sinister, more mature Joker, where he's a bit more interesting in a way, more of a substance behind him. And then we got this book, which is one of my, like, this is actually a fourth print. And I want to show it because it's actually a book I really like. This is DC Universe Rebirth, and it has the three Jokers. This is the first time you see the three Jokers cover. It's the fourth print of DC Universe Rebirth. Okay, so it's kind of a cool book, but it shows the different variations of the Joker, and I just think it's kind of encapsulates the whole idea of this question and answer. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And the last kind of variation to Joker is, and this is one that I really like, and it's the Batman Who Laughs. So I kind of think it's really interesting how the Joker, he went through like a whole bunch of iterations over the years, and he was a comedian, he was he was a criminal, he had all these different personas, and but this one is kind of interesting because this is the amalgamation of the Joker with his his nemesis, which is Batman. You get the mixture of the two, and was such an interesting story. Batman Who Laughs. I just really like this series. So, but it shows how they kind of developed the character beyond his original intent, and actually went as far to actually amalgamate the two, Batman and the Joker. So I thought that was interesting. So those are kind of my my quick Joker through the years. I was trying to think of other characters, but I didn't really have great enough books to really represent how they progressed over the years. The only other one, and I just didn't have the covers to kind of justify it, was Catwoman. I was thinking about showing those because Catwoman has really changed over the years, and she's a really interesting villain, character that I really like. I'm a big Catwoman fan. But Joker is my number one villain. Okay, next one is from Mike Swintel, and he asks, he was the one that was asking me about Ava from Green Lantern, and he basically, his new question is, he wanted to know about, could you do a video on counterfeit comic books? Not only reprints that look like the original, but actual counterfeits that we're starting to hear about. So, believe it or not, I'm going to show you counterfeits are not new. They've been doing counterfeits for a long time. I'm not going to show you, I don't have any counterfeits in my collection, but I have one that's very commonly counterfeited, and it's this book. This is a very expensive book. This is a mint condition one too. This is Eerie #1. And this is like, what they did was Warren Publishing wanted to get the name Eerie and get the rights to it. So the way you get the rights to something is you have to print a certain number of pages in a comic or magazine, and in order to secure the title. And once you do that and you publish it, then you have to, I think you have to publish at least 500 copies as well. There's like certain requirements that are involved with getting that title. Okay, so they published this. Now this was extremely rare. I think there's like only a few hundred of these remaining in any grade. They're very rare. And what happened was, people wanted one, and they're very basic. I mean, it's black and white, and people were photocopying it and literally just creating photocopies of it. And the photocopies will, like, the first iteration had these kind of blue staples. I don't know why, but that was what it was. And there was some differences in some of the artwork. So you could detect whether or not it was a counterfeit. And sometimes when you photocopy things, it doesn't quite get the right details. So this was kind of an early one. This is from 1964, and it's a very rare book. I actually bought this almost directly from the publisher themselves, so I know that it's legit. But there are a lot of those out there, and that's one of the things that happens. Like as a collector, you have to be really, really careful. That's why I kind of like buying the slabs in a way, because you know that there's a certification and it's been verified that it's a real comic, because people can photocopy it, and you can get laser photocopies and it'll look pretty legit. Um, but I actually don't think this is as big of a problem as other things. So I see a lot of listings on eBay right now where it's like photocopies of comics, usually Golden Age comics. And they will, for the most part, they'll say that it is a photocopy, because what happens is when you get an old comic, a Golden Age comic, if you photocopy it, it will look photocopied, because, getting that pristine Golden Age comic is almost impossible. So when you photocopy it, well, you're going to get the flaws, but you can tell that it's a photocopy because the flaws are flat, and yet it looks like it should be not flat, right? And there's like elements that you can sort of see that don't really make sense. And also the paper will be wrong. It won't be the right feel to it. So there's a bunch of things that can kind of hint that is a photocopy or reproduction. So you got to be a little bit wary of those things. But for the most part, I see a lot of people doing that, and they're just reprinting things that way. But what is more dangerous, in my opinion, isn't that or even the people trying to do these knockoff books. What I do see as a problem is this one here, the Ultimate Fallout, where you know they came out with this just recently, within the last year, where they basically reprinted it. The only thing that was really different was I think there was a little bit of red around this marble up here, and the barcode. If you look at the barcode, I'm going to zoom in as much as I can and try to show it. You'll notice it says 00411. Okay. Now, if you look at the reprints of this book, that in my opinion, they're basically counterfeit. Even though it's a reprint, I see it as kind of counterfeiting because it's done by the publisher, sure, but in a weird way, it's counterfeiting because they really don't make it obvious that it is a reproduction. I really want it to say reprint or something, or True Believers. I like the fact that it says that, so you know that it's not the original. But the only way you could tell the reprints from the original from the reprints, is through the barcode. Now on the barcode on the reprint would be 001 11. Okay, and the reason being is the 004 represents that this is Ultimate Fallout number 4. Okay, and the 1 means that it's version 1 of 1. So it's not like it would be a 2 if it's a reprint. If it's a third print, it would be a 3, so forth. Okay, so that's the only way you can tell. But on the one that they did, it's 001, because what they did is they considered it as the first issue of the reprint, which is kind of crazy, but that's how they did it. 001, which is wrong. It should be 004 because it's the 4th issue in the series. I know it might sound a bit confusing, but to me, that confusion is more dangerous than counterfeiting. It is more something that I can see people falling for. And I remember when they first came out with the reprint, it was basically like I saw it on eBay like for like people were selling them for hundreds of dollars as if it was like the original. And with the modern comics, it's a lot harder to use the things that I described. Where you can see that the pages, the paper's not right, or where there's photocopying, kind of weird things happening, and especially that it's the publisher themselves doing it. They're going to have all the right stuff. So I see that as bigger issue than the counterfeiting. So that's my opinion on it. It's something that really does bother me. Okay, so the next question is from Starchild. Does it bother you that you've never touched or read most of your fantastic books? I'd never owned a slab book. Okay, so this is a comment about two things, and I really see it this way. One, slabs, and two, reading the comics. So majority of the comics I actually do try to read. I read most of my comics online. Some of them have actually read the books themselves. I actually skim through it. Pretty much all my Malibu comics I've read, so the actual comics. Most of my Disney stuff I've read. A lot of my Four Colors I've read. So I've read a lot of my books. Majority of my comics, I have over 20,000 comics. Most of them are not slabbed. Maybe only 1,000 or less are slabbed. So majority of my comics actually I can read. But I prefer not to, because I generally like to keep them as pristine as possible. But when they're in lower grades, I kind of will flip through them. So no, I guess in a way to that, where I have touched them and I have read them. But the second part is really the slabbed part. How do I feel about slabs in general? Now, one of the reasons why I buy comics is I buy them to look at them and to appreciate them. So even after I've read them, I still want to look at them. I want to see them. And one of the things I'd like to do is I love to display my comics. I love seeing them up on the wall. I love going in and just looking around the room and seeing all my slabs. And I like that. And you can't really do that with raw comics. Even with top loaders, it's not quite the same. I kind of like the grade. I like seeing the grade. I like to know that it's been graded. I like to know that it's, certified in a way. I like having all that credentials around the slabs as well. So for me, I really do appreciate the slabs. I think, all these grading companies do a good job of providing extra value to the comic itself. You get some of the details. I like the fact that you can look at you pick up the slab and there's all this information about what is inside the comic. First appearance, it mentions all that, and it mentions the year, and I like having all that extra information right there visually. I like the fact that it's in a slab that is kind of protected and not going to get dinged or bent or whatever. I like the fact that I can mount it on my wall. So there's many reasons that I can enjoy it even more that it is slabbed, because I get all those additional benefits. Another thing is with slab comics, they will kind of protect the comic in terms of longevity of the comic, where they'll insert like a little microphone, like the paper. I'm forgetting what the name of the paper is. But the paper, they'll put in a piece of paper that kind of helps prevent the breakdown of the paper of the comic. So there's things that they do that kind of help and take care of the comics a bit better, and I kind of like that, especially with my Golden Age books. I really like that they're slabbed, and I know that they're not going to disintegrate too quickly, and the slab will kind of give them extra life. So for all those reasons, I like slabs. I know that there's purists out there that they love to have that tangible touching of the comic, but for me, and it's each to their own. Like a lot of these are a lot of my comics, like that especially the modern ones, are cover buys, and having them slab, just they present really well. It's almost like having artwork, so I kind of like that too. Okay, so Starchild, that was my feedback on that question, and I'd love to hear your feedback. In a way, all these questions that get asked here, I'd love to hear your answers in the comments below as well. I'd like to hear what your opinions of these are. Like, I'm just giving my opinion. I could be wrong. Yeah, we can have different opinions. I don't mind. And then next question is from Star Podlog, and Star Podtrek podcast. What runs of comics do you strictly love for the stories that have little financial value beyond the keys? Okay, so and she actually lists some of her ones that she likes. She said Swamp Thing Volume 2, the 20 plus issues, Animal Man, Sandman, Claremont era XMen, Perez era of Wonder Woman. I really like that too. Teen Titans, Concrete, Hellblazer, and then Daredevil, Captain Carrot, and Morrison's Doom Patrol and ElfQuest. Actually, I like ElfQuest too. So a lot of those I would say I like as well. I'm going to show you some, and what ends up happening is when a comic is actually a really great story and just a really good read and that is enjoyable, what'll end up happening is there will be a certain buzz around it, and gradually other people will start wanting it, and it'll actually become valuable. But when I bought a lot of these comics, they weren't necessarily valuable, but they're ones that I liked and I thought were really great stories. And I'll give you a few examples of that, and I'll give you some examples of ones that are not really valuable at all. So one of the series that I really, really like, and I didn't buy it because I was like trying to make millions of dollars or anything off comics, is Goon. I really like Goon by Eric Powell. It's fun, it's silly, it's really great, and it has zombies. So I love zombies. So Goon is a really great series. I really enjoy it. So that is one that has gone up a lot since I bought it, but that was not really the intent. It wasn't that I was buying it because I want to be a collector, or make financial money off that comic or anything. Another one that I really enjoyed, it's one of those ones that has spikes because people also enjoyed it, and they actually made a TV series about it, was Invincible. I really like Invincible. Really great story. Just a really great story. I'm a big fan of Robert Kirkman. Just really great, writer. And I love The Walking Dead, like Invincible. So I bought a bunch of his stuff. Another one is Fire. What is it? Firestarter. What's it called? It's Fire something. Why am I blanking on the name? Okay, yeah. So there's a bunch of series by Robert Kirkman. I'll read those ones. I think it's Firebrand actually. So Robert Kirkman stuff I'll get. There's certain writers that I'll pick up their stuff. Another one that I will buy generally anything he writes, even though I don't necessarily sometimes agree with his politics, but is Brian K. Vaughan. So I like Paper Girls. I liked Saga. I liked a bunch of his series. Why the Last Man. All great. I really enjoyed reading them, and I read the whole series. So of all of them. And I bought all the series too. And the thing is, if you want to invest in Paper Girls or invest in those kind of comics, because they all been optioned, because people did like them, generally you'd just buy number one and you wouldn't have to buy the rest. Well, I bought the whole series because I actually enjoyed the series. So that's not necessarily for financial gain, but it's because I actually enjoy the reading of them. Another this is an expensive one, but it's one that I really love and enjoy. I just love the quirkiness of it. Is anything Miss Mask. I love mismasked stories, so I will generally read them and enjoy them and think they're silly. And like I like golden age, female characters, and I enjoy Miss Mask. I enjoy Lady Luck. I enjoy um, blonde Phantom Blonde, and I enjoy. Like, I always have to look. Blonde Phantom. Why do I always mess that up in my brain? I don't know why. Blonde Phantom. And I enjoy all those characters. And Phantom Lady. See, that's where it messes me up. The two names mess me up. So I enjoy all those characters. I really enjoy those. Just like I enjoy Bullet Man, even though it's like a lot of people say Bullet Man's not really well written, but I actually enjoy it. I think it's fun. I like Bullet Man a lot. So I've been picking up a lot of Bullet Man lately because I like it. It's not like it's that, it's not expensive. It's I just picked up a 8.0 of Bullet Man, like some, like high grade. It's like $75. It's not expensive. It's not that I'm buying it because I think it's going to be one that I'll make millions of dollars on later. But I enjoy the characters. I think they're fun, and I think they're cool. So there's a bunch like that. Another one that I really go, like I mentioned many times already, is Extinction Parade and Crossed. Those two series are cool. I really enjoy them, but they're ones that really aren't that valuable, and you can get most of them for cover price. But I really enjoy them. So there's a bunch like that. I like ElfQuest as well. Somebody told me about a series called Elf Lord, and I started reading that. I actually realized that I had read parts of it before. I actually didn't really get into it per se until they mentioned it, but I started enjoying that series as well. Morrison's Doom Patrol is another one as well. Like I like it. And I like the Prayers era of Wonder Woman. So there's a bunch that I have in common here. Sandman is another one that's really great, but now it's become valuable. So sometimes it's one of those things where you love something and it becomes something that other people love too. And generally, I think that's why buy what you love is actually such a great slogan. Because what ends up happening is if you love it, probably somebody else will love it too. And it's one of those things that will actually go up in value over time because people are collecting it for the right reasons. There's so much nowadays that people are collecting for the wrong reasons. They haven't read the books. They don't realize that they're poorly written or the artwork's terrible, and they just buy it because it's a key. It's the hot key of the week, and I think that's a real mistake, because once if the fans don't truly love the story, then there's nothing behind it. That's why I always like to collect books that have that fan base, where I know that it's got some longevity to it. So that's a really important collecting tip if you are trying to make money off it, even, because you're gonna end up with books the other way where they're just gonna be worthless over time. You'll see them go up and down all over the place. I experienced the 90s. The 90s were all about that hype, 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 crappy writing, just weird, some crazy art, and they would just be not really great, and over time they would become worthless. So just my opinion on that. Next is from Red Comics, and Red Comics wrote Spider-Man #1 movie was I watched a lot growing up. A great movie. Question from a new collector: what top 10 silver and Bronze Age superhero comic series would you recommend to a new collector, or maybe what's the best strategy for starting a new series? Thanks. Okay, so top 10 Silver Age, Bronze Age would be like Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Batman, the big ones. And why are they big? And that's really what the question boils down to. So if you're a new collector, start with that. Start with the ones that you would know without knowing anything about comics. Um, because it's a good beginning point. And that could be Superman, it could be Batman, it could be any of those big names. And the reason I say start with that uh, is those are the ones that have, managed to stay the test of time, really. You think about Superman, it's been around since 1938. It's kind of tried and tested. The fact that they can make a character that, in a way, Superman's a terrible character. But the fact that they can make a terrible character, because he's kind of like a Mary Sue in a way, or Bobby Lou or whatever the male version of it is. He's perfect. He is flawless, and there's no risk involved. In a way, it kind of seems like a very bad character, But they made him very, very interesting. They made stories that have, you know, that have compelled people to read his books year after year. And so when I get into collecting, or when I got into collecting, I started with those books, those kind of, blue chip characters, I guess. Um, and it's a good way to start. And you don't have to go back and buy, Action Comics #1, or Batman #1, or Detective Comics #1, or 27, or All Star 8, for Wonder Woman. You don't have to do that. You can get into those comics in their modern versions. I actually do recommend the Silver Age, Bronze Age era. The great thing about Silver Age, Bronze Age is generally those books are still fairly affordable. Silver Age maybe not so much, but Bronze Age definitely. Where there was some really great writing involved. And one of the things is you got to find what you like. So, start with those ones. But what ends up happening is when you start getting familiarized with some of the characters, then it leads out to other things. So there's always been spin-offs or whatever. And that's generally how I've collected. I get interested in one thing, and then I find out, oh, there's this kind of cool character that I like. Did this character appear in other things? And then I start collecting those other things. That's how I got interested in Miss Mask. I was trying to collect Alex Schomburg art, and then I saw this one cover with Miss Mask on. I was like, oh wow, I really like that. And then I started reading her things, and I try to collect all the things related to her. And and I even went into Modern Age with her because I kind of like the character. So the point is, start with those kind of obvious ones: Fantastic Four, XMen, Spider-Man, Batman's, and all those. I would recommend maybe Marvel more than DC. Sorry, DC lovers. Like, DC's better stories generally, but Marvel seems to do better if you're a collector trying to make a little bit of money on it. Well, Marvel outperforms DC. It's just the way it is. But depends on what you want to do. So, those would be my advice. That'd be my strategy. Start with that core, and then work your way out. So that's what I'd recommend. Okay, next is from David Youngblood. Thank you for showing your Fantastic Four slab collection. So I showed, actually not even all of it. I actually found like about 20 slabs after the video where I showed all my Fantastic Four, or not all, but I showed most of my Fantastic Four. And so that was that. But if you get a chance, it would be fun to see another slab series. So I'm going to show you one more slab series. I'm just going to go through them quick and just show you some slabs. So for those people that love slabs, this series is a great one too. Actually, I have to show the one back there. I'm not sure if you can see it. Almost have to zoom in. 1 second here. I'm going to walk over and drop you. That was, this is why editing is always good. So we start with X-Men #1. Boom, right there. X-Men #1. So that's the first in the slabs for this series, and that is the new series that I'm going to be showing, is XMen. So these are all XMen slabs that I have. So we start with XMen number 1 back there, and now number 2. And I'll just go through them fast. Number 3. I like that one. It's the first appearance of the Blob. This one is one of my favorite. It's XMen number 4 with Magneto and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And really great book. And then we got XMen number 10 with Khazar. That's his first Silver Age appearance. And then we have XMen number 12, which is the first Juggernaut. I really like that character as well. And we have the second appearance of Juggernaut, which is in 13. And then we have XMen 28 with the Banshee. And then we have XMen 40 with Frankenstein. I thought that was a quirky one. I like that. Then we have XMen 58 with Havoc. And then we have XMen number 49, which is the first Polaris. I really like her. And then we have a much better cover with her. This is just such an awesome cover. This is XMen 50. It's a really great cover. Just an awesome cover. Jim Stranko. Great cover. Okay, so then we have... Okay, so there's a bunch that are too high and I didn't really feel like pulling down. I have about 20 slabs that I'm skipping over. So we're getting right over, we're jumping to 266. And this is the first Gambit, kind of. And then we get XMen 133. These ones aren't in order, actually, I realize. And then we got XMen 125. Just a great Phoenix, first Mutant X, but great Phoenix cover. And then we have, this one I really like, XMen 141, Days of Future Past storyline. And then we got XMen 100. I really like the Centennial issues. And I like the fact that it's like sort of the X-Men versus X-Men. I think it's great. Great one. So, and I have another 20 slabs of X-Men that I didn't bring. But I figured that was a quick series that I could show. Just X-Men. So hopefully that was enjoyable. That was a very quick skimming through all the X-Men books that I have that are handy. Okay, so next is, oops, one sec here, sorry. Next is from, still David Youngblood. He asked me 2 questions, actually. What is in your opinion, has the CGC grading standards changed in the last few years? Has it become more difficult for a book to receive a grade of 9.8? You buy so many books. I'm sure you have a great deal of contacts in the comic book community. Can you question your contacts and viewers on the subject? So I'm going to put it out to you guys for this question. Do you think a 9.8 today is harder than it was like 10 years ago? I'll give you my opinion now. I would actually say it's easier to get a 9.8 now than it was 10 years ago. And I'll give you a couple little bits of evidence for why I think the grading standard nowadays is a little less strict than it was maybe 10 years ago. What I've seen, and this is kind of two things. There's two things going on here. But what I've seen is a lot of people buying slabs with the old slab. It's like the old, CGC slab, and they'll crack it open, press it, and then resubmit it and get the higher grade. Hopefully, that's the goal. But I've also seen it where people say, and I've heard this said a lot, where even if they didn't press it or didn't clean it, that they can, get a higher grade if it's regraded today. Because there's sort of the suggestion that the older slabs were more strictly graded. And maybe that was due to the fact that CGC back in the day had to kind of really make its standard known, and it would be really strict at that time. Also, what happens now in the modern era is that we have a situation where they're just getting inundated with more things to slab, and you can't do you can't do a great review process where you're inundated with too much work. So the standard kind of slips when the volume of things getting graded increases to the extreme that it has now. And even though CGC has really delayed like how long it's like it takes so long to get a book back. I'm waiting for books from CGC that I sent in March of last year. I mean, it's like almost a year. It's crazy. For the most part, I would say that it's slightly easier now to get a higher grade. But again, I'd love to hear people's opinions on that in the comments below. What do you think? Is it easier? Is a 9.8 today something that was probably 9.6 in the past? It's one of those questions. I can only say from my anecdotal experience that I think the older grades were a little more strict. Okay, so next question is from Jay West. He asked, okay, I'm primarily an FF comic accumulator. I find interesting minor details and facts that other videos miss or assume as common knowledge. The Impossible Man reminds me of Batmite, and as well, it really reminds me of the great Gizmo from the Gazoo, actually. I think it's pronounced Gazoo, from the Flintstones. In the last few weeks, I had an eBay seller fail to deliver an FF52 purchase. What was one of your most memorable disappointments from a seller? Misery loves company. Thanks. Okay, so two big ones. For me was I won an auction, and I was really excited by this auction. It was for an FF number 5. Okay, first appearance of Doctor Doom. I was so excited for this auction because it started with the dollar bid. I love when they put a rare book like a Fantastic Four number 5 and they put it for that dollar bid. Just like wow, and you got to bid on it. You got to bid on it because it's like such a great opportunity. If you can get it for $1, that'd be awesome. But generally, it doesn't happen. So the bid was going up, and I was bidding, and I waited till the last 5 seconds, like I usually do. I always wait till the last 5 seconds and then put my serious bid, and then hope to snipe it basically. So what happened was I put I think it would grade at around a 2, maybe a 2.5, maybe 3 on a good day, if you're really lucky. Speaking of new grading standards, that kind of range, okay? And it went up, I think I won it at $1,800, okay, which is a great price for the book. And I was so excited. I was like, yes! I was like, doing a little happy dance that I won the bid and, I had won this great auction. And I went to basically, get it shipped. And before I could even finalize the order, like within like a couple minutes or a few minutes, the guy basically canceled the order altogether. And it was because he saw that I was in Canada, and he basically canceled the order and blocked me. Like he blocked me. I had won the auction, and he blocked me, and there was no way I couldn't even respond. I couldn't say, hey, look, I can send it. I have friends, I have family that I could send it to in the US. If you really don't want to send it to Canada, I know people that you can send it to. But he blocked me. I couldn't get any feedback. I couldn't do anything. So I didn't get the book. And, I I probably should have complained to eBay. I probably should have been a little bit more active. But I felt like I couldn't complain because I was listed as being Canadian. On his auction thing, it said that you can't bid on it if you're, that he wouldn't ship outside of Canada. So he had that kind of stipulation already in his listing. But I had bid knowing that I could have gotten it shipped to somebody in the US if I really needed it. And it didn't use Stackery at the time, so I didn't have that option. But, I could have done that. So that's why I bid on it. So that one was a big disappointment. I went from being through the roof because that was a book. As I said, my two favorite villains would be, number one would be the Joker. Number two would be Doctor Doom. In terms of Marvel, I think Doctor Doom is the best villain they have. And I just felt like, wow, it was heartbreaking. So that was kind of the biggest one, real negative one. Another one, and I actually ended up getting it later, was More Fun Comics is such a great golden age series. It has first Aquaman, first, Spectre, it has the first Dr. Fate. And Dr. Fate was a character that my son and I shared in common that we really, really liked. And I really wanted to get Dr. Fate's first appearance. And that's More Fun Comics number 55. And I was really excited because I found somebody that had it. And they listed it at a crazy price, like 20, 30,000 or something pretty crazy, okay? It was a 6.5, but restored, okay? So, had restoration. Generally, when there's restoration, it kind of kills the price. So I knew that the guy wasn't really putting a serious price on it. And the highest, a 6.5 ungraded at that time, this was over a year ago, highest it was selling for was around 10,000. So, even if it were 10, 15,000 at the time, maybe 20 on a good bid, on a good, that high record sale or something, so he had it over what a non-restored version would have gone for. So, and the restoration was not restoration that you could remove. So it's not like it was trimmed page, something, it was trimmed, it had issues where you couldn't unrestore it. So basically, I was negotiating with the guy. I said, hey, it is what it is. Sure, it's a high grade, but it's restored. It really does affect the price. I showed him comparables. I showed him, I did my research and looked at the auction history, and I figured it was worth around $8,000 based on the grade and based on the restoration. And that was at the time, okay? That was at the time. But I agreed to $10,000. So I actually was willing to pay more than what I thought it was worth. Because I really wanted the book in my collection. And I liked that higher grade because it presented well. So I was willing to pay that. And, I negotiated with him. I said, I'm willing to pay this. Can you do installments? And he said, yes. And I paid him installments. I, paid it over a few months. And and I was on the last installment, I paid it. And I was like, okay, send me the book. I'm really excited. Now, just before that last installment, okay, just before, that last payment, and I still made the last payment, what happened was there was announcement, Black Adam, and it's going to feature the JSA and Dr. Fate, and all of a sudden that book became super pricey. It went through the roof. It literally went from being, pretty expensive to super expensive. Like there was all these auctions where like really low grades would sell for 10,000 plus. And he was like, well, it's no longer worth 10,000. It's worth 20,000 maybe. And I tried to argue that it was still restored, so it still has that flaw. And I didn't see that the price would go up, and I did, we did make an agreement. I did pay, and I paid when I said I would pay, and he refused to send it. So he ended up giving me a full refund, but I did lose out. I lost out on the exchange rate, and because it was Canadian to US dollars, I lost probably about $1,000 just on the exchange rate and sending friends and family method and all these things. So I lost out big time, and I didn't get refunded the money that I lost. Okay. So I only got refunded for that 10,000. So I was really upset. I was really, really traumatized. Because he was slow about even giving me the refund. It took 3 months before he even gave me the refund. And it was like going back and forth. Like I was saying, hey, can you send the book? And he was like, considering it and not considering it. And it was like just back and forth. And it was heartache. It was just really brutal. It was just like, it was drawn out heartache. At least with the other guy, with the Fantastic Four, it was within a few minutes that he screwed me over. But this guy, he really drew it out. It was like 3 months of just like contacting him. I didn't even know if I was going to get my money back, or I didn't know if I was going to get the book. I didn't know what was going to happen. So it was pretty painful. Fortunately, I did get the book later. I paid less for it, but I paid $6,800 for this book. It's a 1.0. So, it looks nice. It's, for the most part, it's got a little bit of staining. It's not as pretty as the one that I didn't get, but it was pretty brutal. That was a pretty hard experience. So buyer beware sometimes on those kind of situations. Yeah, and I feel bad for you for not getting your Fantastic Four 52, another really great book, by the way. Okay, so what? Oh, I think I forgot who asked this question because it got cropped off. Somebody asked me. Okay, so the question is the following: if you had a time machine, this is the next question. I don't know who it's from. Sorry, their name got cropped off. If you had a time machine and you could go back in time and basically buy comics, buy Amazing Fantasy 15s, what is the exact date you would have to travel back to? Where would be the optimal city and establishment to find them? And where would I safely store them for 60 years so that I could retrieve them when I return to the present? Okay? So I can't take them with me. I can only stay for 24 hours. Okay. So I'm going to go back in time. I got a time machine. I can go back to when Amazing Fantasy 15 came out. So the optimal city to buy Amazing Fantasy 15, I would say, would be New York, because there's lots of shops, so you'd be able to kind of find the best the best ones, because a lot of the times back then in the day, they'd be on the spinner rack and they would get bent or something would happen to them. So at least with New York City, you could kind of go around. There was a subway, you could kind of go around and find the best, like the most crisp, the most 9/8-ish copies of Amazing Fantasy out there. So that's what I would do. I'd pick the biggest city with the most potential. So that's first thing. And you would have to go back to August 10th, 1962 in order to do that. Okay? So August 10th is the big date. Now, what I would do is I would use Back to the Future's reference for how to safely store and protect your comic time machine investment. So what I would do is I'd wrap them like just like I was going to mail them off to somebody. If I was, I'd bag and board them. I'd bring my bags and boards with me. Maybe even like a top folder thing with like the acid-free boards and all that kind of stuff that, archival, whatever. Bringing all my gear with me. Make sure that the books are all like, secure in terms of the way that they're going to be stored. So you got you put them into that bag and board and top loader to extra protection, and then you package it up as if you're going to mail it, and then I would give it to Western Union, and do that Back to the Future thing where he gets the package. Like, I'm not sure if you remember the movie, but he's like standing in the middle of the road, and all of a sudden this Western Union guy comes up to him and gives him a package. Well, I would do that kind of thing and have them basically deliver it to me in the future at a specific date. Oh, I think I hear the doorbell. No, I was joking. So, that'd be kind of the way I'd do it. And, hopefully that would work. But if you kind of bag it and board it and wrap it and protect it and make it sure that it's got maybe in a waterproof kind of container, like, so that's 100% secure, I think I think it would do well. So that'd be my way of going back to the future with the comic collecting. Okay, Comic Mag Musings wrote, okay, Maple Leaf Mutt Racker. Here is another question for you. Have you ever purchased original comic book art? If so, what? Have you thought about looking for original art from any of the Warren mags? Okay, so yes, I have actually original art from Warren Publishing, and I've shown that in other videos, so I don't really want to show it again. So I do have it, and I have shown it. So go through my other videos and find where I show some of my original Warren magazine original art. But I'm going to show you some original art that I got for one of the characters from Warren. And one is I got this pencil sketch from one of the Vampirella artists, which is that. But I also got like the original, like, kind of huge, this is like the kind of centerfold, or like, kind of like the pinup within, I think it was in Purgatory Vampy, number 14. Or I'm not sure if it's number 14. Oh, maybe it's 14th page and 15th page. So I think it's Purgatory Vampirella. So I actually should check. I have this comic, so I should really check what page it's from, but or what comic it's from. But I think it was just a really great artwork. I thought, has great Vampirella thing going on. Some, you can see. I'm going to zoom in a bit. You see some of it. It's got like so many Vampirella panels. Just a really great one. I'll show this little side over here. It's really big, and it was really nice. I didn't pay much for it. It was, I think, $100 Canadian. So really not much. I thought, wow, it's original art that was in the comic. So I thought that was kind of cool. So that was the original art that I have. I have some others. Like, I have some really kind of rare original art. Like, I mean, rare in terms of not many people even know that this art exists. But I showed that in other videos. So my art collection is very limited. I think I maybe have 10 to 15 pieces of original art that are from the actual comics or from like animated cells or things like that. I do have some original art that I've ordered, like custom art that I've ordered from some artists. And I have a fair number of pieces of that. But that's some of it I can't show. It's a lot of very risque stuff. Yeah, I do have some pretty cool things. So that's my original art. And the very last question is from RJCXD, and he wrote, "Will you do hunting type videos?" Believe it or not, I actually tried to do a hunting type of video when I was at the Toronto Fan Expo, and I was going to get my kids to record me hunting through the long boxes and dealing with dealers and stuff like that, but it didn't work out. So, so I do plan in the future to do those kind of things where I get, record myself hunting in the wild, looking for cool books, and showing some of the sweet deals that I do, and maybe even showing how I negotiate deals. Because I have a bunch of tricks that I do in order to get the price down. And yeah, I'd love to show that. So I'd love to show some hunting videos. You gotta wait, I guess, because I'm not sure when the next convention is, but when I go to it, I will definitely try to record some videos and show some of that. So that is it. That has been my Q&A video for this week. If you want to get your question answered, please leave a comment below with your question, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel because I really need the love. So that's all. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.